call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Yeah, that's right. Saturday. We're back on the weekend grind here. Welcome to the Pod at the Palace. I'm your host, Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas. Hope everybody's weekend is getting off to a great start. And hey, maybe you're up early this Saturday morning, and a little Razorback basketball talk will set the tone, get the vibes going in the right direction for you as you head into a good weekend. Hopefully, you guys are taking advantage of these weekends. They're few and far between. They're precious when there's not actual Razorback athletics going on. We're getting close, though. We're getting closer to the start of fall camp. Hell, maybe some of you, have escaped the chance of rain that I see in the forecast this weekend, and you made it out to the lake. That'd be cool, wouldn't it? If you wanted to, but you couldn't because you don't have a boat to take out on the water, I've got good news for you. It's called the Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas, sponsors of today's show here. If you don't own a boat, it's cool. You don't need to. Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas has you covered. They give you access to the boats without the commitment. This is boating that fits your lifestyle, fun, flexible, and stress-free. They take care of the boat so you can simply enjoy the moment. From the Cape Cod to the California coast, your next boat day awaits. There are 3 locations in Arkansas to take advantage of, so lake time is closer than you think. Whether you prefer Greer's Ferry Lake, Lake Hamilton, or just a day on the river out in Little Rock, Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas will help you make your summer in the natural state the best one yet. Check out their website at www.freedomboatclubar.com today to learn more about the benefits of joining the club, or just scan that QR code, the top right-hand corner of your screen. Are you guys bored this time of year? I am. It's hard not to be. As a Razorback fan, there's really nothing going on. If we're being honest. Baseball, it's done. Football, it hasn't started yet. It's talking season, the peak of it actually next week with SEC Media Day. Basketball, the season's still months away. I mean, thank God John Calipari let us come to practice to spice things up a little bit. But wouldn't it be nice if we just had something to quench our thirst? Some of you might be MLB fans or, whatever. We all like watching, the NBA Summer League or, I don't know, the Tour de France is on. I don't know what your thing is. Boxing, UFC, whatever. But as far as Razorback fandom, give us something here in the dog days. Wouldn't it be cool? I think so. And of course, leave it to Mr. Grow the Game himself, John Calipari, to restart the discussions on a college basketball summer league to fill the void. Oh, well, that's an idea that excites me. Of course. I mean, this is we're in July and we're doing a daily Razorback basketball podcast. Of course, I would love that. But wouldn't that be something? And I don't think it's that far-fetched. In fact, I think it's a great idea, and you could kill multiple birds with one stone, whether it's entertainment, revenue generation, any number of things, just to help increase some exposure, bring some light to college basketball, and keep people on the hook. So let's play the first part. I've got a clip here. We'll play the first part of it and then react here to what I think is just a great idea from John Calipari. Let me pull it up.
Yeah, I think that college basketball has got to compete in the July area. Like there's got to be games. Even the first weeks of August, there's got to be exhibition games in the summer games. And we're getting swallowed by everything else. And it can't just be the tournament. And in the summer, in July is a space where we could take over. Right now, you have the NBA Summer League. Well, why don't we have something? So I've been saying that for a number of years. I also said there shouldn't be a 1 in 4 years go on a foreign trip. If you want to go every year, go. And then let those games be televised. If you don't want to go, don't go. Everybody should have 10 practice days in the summer as though you're making a foreign trip. And if you don't want to, play some games against people you want to play against. They can be scrimmages or they can be open. Why wouldn't we do that? Do you think our kids just like to do this, or would they like to play against somebody? What you just saw, do you think they'd rather do that or let's play? They want to play. That's what they want to do. We always talk about, we're about the kids, but they're going to do what we want. So I've been asking for that for 5 years.
Okay, let's stop it there, and we'll talk about this for a minute. hey, listen, I'm all for this idea. I think he's on to something there where he was like, hey, do you think that these dudes would rather play or just go through these monotonous, skill development practices where we're 5 months away from playing a basketball game? The more motivation in summer workouts, the better your team is for it, I think. And really, there's no better way, in my opinion, to build chemistry and continuity and learn about yourselves than to play somebody else. And we hear that all the time. You'll hear here in a few weeks when we're interviewing football players, and it's about, man, are you just, hey, it's game week now. You're probably tired of beating up on each other, ready to beat up on somebody else. Oh, yeah. Iron's been sharpening iron, but we're ready to see somebody else. It's the same thing with basketball. So why not do something like this? When I was coaching at Lindenwood Belleville, and that's in the St. Louis area, just right across the river in Illinois, we participated in a college summer league. And it was us and Missouri Baptist and SWIC and St. Louis Community College and Webster and Fontbonne, all these schools in the area. And we would just have a couple different gyms. And, once a week we'd get out there and everybody play a game. And it was a blast, man. I absolutely loved it. And we got better. We learned a lot about ourselves from that. And I think there are ways that this could be a super, super beneficial thing for the game, for the University of Arkansas, and for anybody who would participate. Make it regional to reduce travel, Arkansas, Missouri, OU, Oklahoma State, who else? TCU, SMU, not that far away. Hell, if you want to get, Little Rock or UCA involved, like whatever, Missouri State, whatever, a lot of teams right there that you don't have to have flights for. You know what I mean? And you just stay in overnight, or heck, you don't even have to if you don't want to. Get a network to broadcast it. I know what you're thinking is like, oh, media rights, all this stuff. What would it look like? Hey, I don't think it would be too hard to get actual college basketball games on a television network when they're filling slots right now with cornhole tournaments and banana ball. Okay, so something tells me that you would be able to figure it out, get somebody to put this on TV. And at that point, like the proceeds, and obviously you could open it up and sell tickets to it or whatever, cheap, $5 a head, something to get in there. I bet you get a few thousand people. It wouldn't be a big deal. Hell, if you did it at Bud Walton Arena, you'd probably get more than that. It'd be a stupid crowd, I would imagine. But the proceeds from it, it pays the bills that go into, running the operation, and then goes to the rev share pot for these teams. Which, why not? Because everybody's looking for ways to generate that money. This is a way to do it for your respective sport. I think you could also use this as an avenue for legit NIL deals that will pass the clearinghouse approval. Because this NIL Go thing is already pissing people off. They're submitting these NIL deals, and there's a bunch of holdups with them. In some cases, they're just not getting to them quick enough. But in a lot of cases, they're denying these NIL deals that schools are submitting because they're saying, oh, this doesn't fit the criteria of a legitimate business dealing or whatever. Like, is the business really getting any benefit from this? It doesn't make sense with market value, whatever. This is a perfect way for them to do that, in my opinion. Like, okay, we've got a timeout. Oh, it's the end of the first quarter. If you want to play quarter, end of the first half, whatever. Let's hit a break. And then all of a sudden we're watching Malik Ewan eat a Tyson nugget on a commercial. Or Darius Acuff's walking around in his Reeboks. Or Trevor Brazil is pulling up to Bud Walton Arena in a new Chevy truck. Whatever. And there you go. There's your legitimized NIL deals right there to help all these kids out. And, based on which game is playing, you go to a break or commercial, whatever. Every commercial break has, one of those for one of the teams. And you wind up taking care of these kids in that way. Like, I see no downside to this. I really don't. And you could say, well, what about injuries, though? I get it. There's always an injury risk. Hell, Arkansas's had plenty of injuries in summer workouts. We learned that the hard way last year. Heck, Nelly Davis fell off a golf cart and hurt himself. He wasn't even hooping. So there's a risk of that happening regardless. And, well, is it too much workload on these guys? I really don't think so. I mean, these freshmen who are coming in here, Acuff, Thomas, Sealy, all these guys, like they played a full high school season. And they immediately went to playing about 8 games every other weekend, sometimes 2, 3, 4 games a day when they're out there on the circuit, Plus, a lot of these guys were playing USA basketball in between, the top 100 camp. They're going to Pangos. These guys are hooping every single day. So I think they're going to be all right if they played, let's say, 2 games with a day off in between on like a Thursday through Sunday rotation, a couple weekends in July or the first weekend in August. And all of a sudden you've played 4 games and you've learned a lot about yourself. I think it's awesome. I think it's a great idea here. And I know Cal was one of the pioneers from it. I know that Bruce Pearl is another guy who brought it up earlier in the week. But this is good stuff. I like it. Plus, if someone goes down, for the season or whatever, heaven forbid, knock on wood, just go get a plug and play international kid from the Adriatic League like everybody else is doing. And you still have a month to get them enrolled and in there for fall semester and preseason practices. It's like, it wouldn't be the end of the world. You don't want that, but the same thing could happen. I mean, they were going live for 45 minutes and we were sitting there watching practice the other day. Somebody could have got hurt there just as easily as they could, playing against each other or a different team. So I think it'd be awesome. A great way to increase visibility and add some excitement around the game. And, the program also, and they can generate some funds that the U of A and others are starving for. They're looking for avenues to do this. What better way? I think it makes perfect sense, if you ask me. And then, Cal also mentioned the thing there as we continue to play through the clip about the foreign tour rule. Because that's the thing right now with these Division I programs, you're only allowed to do 1 overseas tour every 4 years. It's why Arkansas hasn't done one yet with Cal, because they did one prior to the 2022-23 season with, Anthony Black and that team. They went to Italy, Spain, whatever. But I think he's right. If you can afford it and you want to do it, who's to say you can't go do it? And the argument there is, well, these teams who are going on these foreign tours, they get 10 full practices added to their summer allotment to prepare for that. And so if you can't go or you can't afford it or whatever, these teams can't get it. Well, I like his explanation right there of, okay, well, everyone should get those 10 practices anyway. And if you're not able to go on a foreign tour and play these professional teams overseas or whatever, then maybe you're playing teams in your region. These summer league style games, whether you go to a big event or to raise NIL, it's going to be broadcast or whatever, or if it's just a closed scrimmage where you go up the road and play somebody else. But then that kind of levels it off. So I think it makes a ton of sense, man. It's also a low key recruiting tool, these foreign tours, because the international prospect population in Division I basketball has gone crazy. And Arkansas has tapped into that market also. And again, get those picked up by a network also and use it for the same purposes. And I know I'm not talking about Flow Sports, which is what Arkansas's last foreign tour was on. Although it was pretty sick to have Coach Z on the calls there. But heck, I watched John Calipari's Kentucky team a couple years ago playing against the Dominican Republic national team on the SEC network. They don't have anything else to put on there right now. So unless you want to watch, reruns of March softball games, then maybe you do something like this. I think it's a good thing for everybody. So, okay. I want to move forward though to the last part of this quote from Cal, where he threw out the idea, which I think is an interesting one, about a preseason type of SEC tournament. Let's hear what he had to say.
I've also said we should have a preseason conference tournament. Do something prior to, and everybody gets 3 games. Play your way out and do it in November, December. Start the season with it. And then when the season ends, it ends. Regular season champ, you're the but no one listens to me, so done.
Well, Cal, I'm listening to you, big man. I love your ideas here. I really do. And this is interesting. Like, I'm not sure how that would work with an in-season pre-conference SEC tournament type of deal. It kind of sounds like the NBA Cup, doesn't it? Or whatever they call that random in-season thing that they do now. Is it necessary? Like, is this something that you really need? No, probably not. But I do think it kind of breaks up the monotony of the grind, which is part of why the NBA is doing it right now, because it does. It breaks up the monotony. It gives you something a little bit different. They change up the courts. There's a tournament style format and, an elimination style deal there to where it's just different. And it adds a little bit more attention and intrigue to a regular season that can get kind of dull at times. So I'm all for it. Yeah, like you can get away from having so many of these bye games stacked on top of each other in November or December, and just have 1 week of this, mini SEC bracket. Or if you didn't want to do that, you just like a week of regular league games, because that's what the Big Ten does. Because they'll have a week or two of conference schedule games that they do maybe like the first week of December. And then the rest of the month going into the holiday and everything, they've got those non-conference games, and they jump back into league play, when the calendar flips to January. And what I think this does, it allows for, either like an extra bye week of time off if you need that, as opposed to just, straight through 18 SEC games, 2 a week. And if you have a bye, if you want that, take it, some time to rest up. Or it could give you the opportunity to schedule one of these cool February, neutral sites or even on campus games against Cal did it at Kentucky with Gonzaga, played them in a random February Saturday. It was awesome. Last year it was Duke and Illinois played each other in mid-February at Madison Square Garden. That's really cool. You're just taking a break from these conference schools and playing a huge game like this. I also think it gives you a really good barometer for league strength with these teams, because that's the other thing. Non-conference play, everybody's kind of playing each other. But then you get into league play, and those games are just different. Teams are scouted different. They're more familiar with each other, and they're all separated. So it's hard to say, well, how good is this third place team in the SEC compared to the third place team in the ACC or whatever? Well, hell, jump out of there and play a game. Why not? So I like that part of it. And it allows for things like do you remember the SEC Big 12 challenge just a couple of years ago? That used to be in the middle of January. It would be a break in the conference schedules, and you'd have an open weekend, and you'd have this conference versus conference challenge. Something fresh, something different, breaks up the monotony. I like it. I really do. So I'm on Team Cal with this. Grow the game in the offseason, right? Grow the game in the regular season. I'm 100% good with that. Do not mess with the best part of the game, though, which is the NCAA tournament. March Madness, it's golden. It's the single best postseason format on planet Earth, if you ask me. And for whatever reason, folks in power are just hell-bent on changing it and expanding it. And that's a little bit frustrating because nobody else wants it to happen. Coaches don't want it to happen. Players don't want it to happen. Media talking heads like me don't want it to happen. And neither does John Calipari. In fact, here's his 5-second reaction to the thought.
Vote this week about NCAA tournament expansion. Just wanted to get your take and yeah, just your thoughts.
Don't screw it up. Usually don't screw it up. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Well,
exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself, Coach Cal. Don't screw it up. Fortunately, nothing came of the actual vote here, which is good because there was a lot of traction earlier in the week suggesting they might actually be looking to make a move here. And, they didn't, but it's still on the table for as soon as this upcoming season. It drives me nuts. In fact, here's a statement from Dan Gavitt, who was kind of heading up those meetings. Let me pull it up real quick and then I'll read it. It says the NCAA Division I men's and women's basketball committees met this week, with the men's meeting taking place in Savannah, the women's meeting in Philadelphia. The topic of expanding the field for each championship was discussed at length, but no decision or recommendation was made. The still viable outcomes include the tournaments remaining at 68 teams or expanding the fields to either 72 or 76 teams in advance of the 2026, which is this coming season, or 2027, which would be a year from now, championships. Why? I mean, if the tournament expanded to, let's say it was 72 teams this past year, that means Indiana, who announced that they were firing their coach in the middle of the season because they sucked, would have been in. West Virginia, okay, I would hear a case that maybe they got snubbed. I thought they should have been in. Most people did. All right. Ohio State, 17-15. And they were one of the first 4 teams out. Boise State, fun program, whatever. At the end of the day, it was a mid-major who had double-digit losses on the season. All those teams would have been in if they expanded to 72 last year. Would the tournament have been that much better if those teams were in? If they expanded to 76, you would have seen Nebraska, who didn't even qualify for the Big Ten Conference tournament because they were that bad and finished that low in the standings. Wake Forest and SMU, 2 programs who combined for 2 total Quadrant 1 wins. SMU didn't even have one. And then who the hell else knows who the other team would have been? Heck, think about the last 4 teams who did make the field and got sent to Dayton, right? Texas, they had 15 losses on the season. They lost 7 times in their own building. Made the field. North Carolina, we talked about them a lot. 1-12 Quadrant 1 record. They got in. Xavier, 1-9 Quadrant 1 record. They got in. San Diego State was the other team. They had a decent season. The point is, there were, I would say, undeserving teams who did make the field. So it's not like there's a lot of teams who were left out that should have been in out there. They're just getting screwed over. And I understand some of the argument about if you look at other postseason formats and you've got this many teams total, you want a certain percentage representing, who gets in. There's 364 Division I basketball programs. 68 of them make the NCAA tournament. But 364 of them have the opportunity to do so. Win your league and you get in. Win your conference tournament and you're in. So 68 out of 364, that's 18.7%. I know that's a number that they feel should be higher. I get that. I understand it. But at what cost? Like, at what point are you just diluting or watering down something that's great in its own format? Are there that many quality teams? I don't think so. And also, I love when people say this, and I agree. Like, man, it would be cool if, if more mid-majors were able to get involved. And man, it sucks for that, team from a low major league who upset some big school in November, and then they went 30-3, and wow, they had an off game and they lost in their conference tournament championship, and some 15-16 team got in. Well, don't do that, in my opinion, first of all. But second of all, guys, I'm sorry, they're just not going to expand the NCAA tournament with the idea of helping out the little guy. When has that ever been a thing? You think they're really going to do this to create opportunities for mid-majors who didn't get exposure and nobody got to watch throughout the course of the season? No, they're not going to do that, because this is about money. It's about generating revenue and adding more first 4 types of games, or, first 12 or whatever the heck they call it. It's just not going to do that. And so I'll say what I've said on this show before. I'll say it again. If the NCAA tournament expands to 76 teams, I think it should be grounds for termination for any SEC head coach who does not make it in the field on a given year. And that includes John Calipari. You just had 14 SEC teams get in. And if you expand it by 8 more, every single one of them should get in. And I don't like the idea of that, personally. Leave it alone, man. Don't do it. I think they're going to look back at this and, again in August or something. Let's keep this thing how it is. I sure like it the way that it is. And so does John Calipari. I'm very Team Cal today, in case you didn't notice, but I'm picking up everything he's putting down. I love the college summer league thing. Sounds awesome. That would be so much fun. And we would cover it like crazy. The Pod the Palace would be going nuts. Could you imagine the post-game live shows after a summer league game that we could overreact to? Or if they were, on the road somewhere we couldn't go, just doing the watch parties for those. They were on SEC Network Plus or whatever. Yeah, stream it on SEC Plus. You don't have to get it on television. Stream it. Everybody's streaming anyway now. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. Again, keep your eyes out for some recruiting type stuff. And we're going to have a lot of that on Monday's weekend roundup. But hey, on Friday, Arkansas staff was out again in full force. I know they sent the assistants to the Adidas event where John Calipari was the day before. and Cal was out at Peach Jam, and hey, they've got eyes on all the guys out there. I saw Jordan Smith Jr. just absolutely balling out again. Arkansas is in a good position with him. That dude is a lot of fun. Like, if you were excited about Boogie last year and you're excited about Acuff this year, watch Jordan Smith Jr. That dude is tough. We're going to be talking about him a lot. I do have a feeling for sure. Mika Murinen, everybody's familiar with that name. We talked about him a ton in here. Was he going to reclass? Was he not? Whatever. He released his top 7 suitors, Arkansas included in that list. Don't know that I would have them at the leader at this stage, but probably in the top 3 to 4, I would think. And we'll see what happens. If he does wind up reclassifying, I'd be really surprised if that meant Arkansas, given where the roster's at, given the way Calipari was talking about kind of the criteria of who he's going to visit this weekend, like a multi-year guy. And, I might take him knowing he's going to be here for a few years. I don't think Mika falls into that category. So I understand it'd be easy to try to connect those dots. It's not really where I'm headed with it, but we'll see what happens. So anyway, going to get out of here. Appreciate you guys for tapping in, tuning in as always. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Find us where you find your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, anywhere you listen, we can be found there as well. And we'll see you bright and early in the morning. It's been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas on the Pod of the Palace. You guys have a good day. Talk to you next time.